Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Would all be very cheeky of you, by the way. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from Mum Named Me One, and it says, Am I the arsehole for telling my mother to stop telling people the story behind my name? Mobile, so sorry for formatting. I 15 male and my mother 39 female. Have similar names due to my mother naming me after her. I don't dislike my name at all, but the story behind it and how my mother constantly wants to tell it to the world is the problem. For backstory, I'm a second child, and for her first child, my older brother, 20 male, she wanted to know his gender, and she found out and named him. For me, however, she decided to keep it a surprise. However, she for some reason was confident that I would be female and was dead set on naming me after her. Her name is Alexandra, so she would have named me Alexandra as well. Fake names. When I came out as male, she simply named me Alexander. Fake name. However, she would constantly tell everyone she befriended, if we were together, the story on how I was named. It embarrasses me to no end, and I've told her over and over to please not tell that to every new friend her or I make. She even told all of my friends' parents the story despite me asking her not to tell them. She wants to meet my friends' parents for the first time if I want to sleep over for whatever reason. This all boiled down to Thursday, when my mother and I went to the grocery store, and as we're leaving, a duo of charity workers came up to us and asked us if we were willing to donate to their cause. My mother being the social butterfly, she sparked up a conversation with them. As they introduced themselves to us, my mother followed suit and of course told them the story I dreaded she would. My name is Alexandra and this is my son Alexander. He was supposed to be a girl and take my name, but he came out a boy, so I named him after me. I got a bit angry and told her, I really wish you wouldn't tell every stranger you meet on the street that. It makes me feel embarrassed and mad. It got silent, and my mother's face twisted and just told the charity workers she'll donate next time and started walking to the car. The car ride home was silent, and when we got home she told me that I really embarrassed her back at the store and that I should have told her something after we got in the car, that I didn't like her telling that story. I said to her I've told her repeatedly that I don't like her telling everyone with a pulse that she befriends that story, and that I got fed up with her blatantly ignoring me and my request to stop. She just told me to go to my room and not to come out. She of course told everyone in my family what I did, and my stepdad and grandparents said I shouldn't have embarrassed her like that and to apologize to her. My brother and best friend told me I was right to call her out since I've told her many times to stop embarrassing me with that story, and that she needs to learn what I felt. I do feel bad and want to apologize and talk to her, but at the same time I still feel like I'm right and that she needed to feel what I feel. So, am I the arsehole? KBG says, not the arsehole, because I think if a parent is repeatedly doing something that upsets their child, they should endeavor to stop doing it, unless it's a safety issue, so definitely not the arsehole. I am curious though, which part of this is embarrassing? Is it your mum being friendly and chatting to strangers? Is it being named after your mother? Is it because she got your gender wrong when she was pregnant? I think it's pretty cringeworthy when people name their children after themselves. But apart from that, it feels like pretty common parent behavior. Most adults with teenage children are confident enough in themselves to chat to people and make small talk, which is what this is. It's not embarrassing or significant for either party. Most teenagers aren't as comfortable with small talk, either making or receiving, and find themselves being embarrassed by their parents making it. That feels like part of what's going on here. As for wanting to meet the parents of your friends, that's normal and expected and good parenting. They're responsible for you and need to do their best to ensure the adults whose home you're visiting are as safe as possible. I do the same, and my parents did the same, as did the parents of my friends at your age, particularly if sleeping over. Opie says, what I find embarrassing is just her needing to tell the story to people when she introduces us. I don't mind being named after her at all. As for her meeting my friend's parents, I didn't even think about her wanting to make sure they were responsible. Makes sense now that you say it like that. Flimsy says, question. Why does it embarrass you, other than because you're 15? 15-year-old you will get embarrassed about stuff and 25-year-old will have zero idea why. Lots of hormonal angst can be avoided if you can tell the difference. Opie says it's not that I find my name or the story embarrassing, It's just a strange need to tell people the story when she introduces us, even if I told her many times to stop. I was kind of like, there's lots of people questioning OP, asking why they find it embarrassing. I kind of find it a bit weird in itself as well, the absolute need to tell everyone that you just meet the story of why you have the same name, and to be constantly hearing, oh, he was supposed to be a girl and take my name. I mean, to just some random charity workers, I'd be like, what the fuck? Don't know, maybe that's just me, but I find that really random. OP did update and says, so a bit of a late update for you. Sorry. I want to say thanks for the advice and the support. It means a lot, and I do mean that. I do want to say that please don't make this a whole picture of my mother's and I's relationship. She loves me and I love her, and we get along very well. She has her flaws just as everyone does. Anyway, the update. So on that Thursday, later in the afternoon, my mother and stepdad came into my room when my best friend and I were playing Lego Fortnite. Split screen for the win, of course. My stepdad first apologized for being upset with me and told me that my mother told me that I yelled at her, but she later told him that I didn't and that he agreed the story was embarrassing. My mother apologized too, but asked me us being named similarly was embarrassing to me. I told her that I like my name and I don't mind being named similarly, but that she didn't need to tell people this all the time. Thinking back on some comments, I told her that she could just simply introduce us as Alexandra and my son Alexander, and people could just connect the dots. She seemed to like this idea and promised me that she would do that from now on. She said that she told this story to people because she was proud of the young man I am, and just wants to show off our connection. I told her it's fine to be proud, but in a different way. She agreed. She told me as an apology she'd make pizza in our pizza oven we have outside with whatever toppings I like. It's my best friend and my favorite food with our favorite toppings, mushrooms and peppers. She was excited, but then again she practically lives here, so she eats it plenty. I agreed. Not an exciting update, but a hopeful one nonetheless. Thank you again for all the support, even the ones who said I was the arsehole. I did read all of them. A relatively low stakes post there, but an interesting one nonetheless, I find. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. It's a bit of an older one. There's some trigger warnings of physical violence, and it says possible or / likely child abuse, a troubled child, and wishing death on another. Apparently it's a pretty dark story. But as always, timestamps are down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. The title says, I'm 26 female, pregnant for the first time with husband's 36 male baby. His daughter, 7 female from his first marriage, is ruining my life. And it starts. I'm sure my husband doesn't even know that Reddit exists, but I'm sure we have friends who go to this sub, so I'm using a throwaway for this one. I feel like the worst person in the world for typing this out to begin with, but I need some reassurance or some practical ways I can handle this situation. Backstory. My husband and I are very much in love. We met over 5 years ago through work and got married last year. It was my first marriage and his second. We recently bought a house together and everything, and decided it was a good time to start a family. After months of trying, I am now pregnant with a beautiful, wrinkly fetus. I'm 5 months along at the moment, and I feel a bit more emotional / craving crazy than I used to be. I still feel rather healthy and good about myself. My husband was supportive and took very good care of me, until Ava, obviously not a real name, came into our life. Ava is from my husband's first marriage. He was married to a kind woman who, after only 4 years of marriage, grew bored of him and cheated on him with many men. When my husband found out, he went through her cell phone on a gut feeling. He was livid and upset with her. She'd been sending and receiving nudes for months back. Despite this, he wanted to work things out with her, but she had already moved in with another man, taken Ava with her, served him divorce papers along with a restraining order. She has also sent Ava to therapists, trying to brainwash her into thinking that my husband was a neglectful father. My husband took this sack of shit to court to fight for joint custody, but ultimately lost. He can only see her a few times a year. Immediately after winning, said sack of shit took Ava and moved to a different city almost 3 hours away with a new man. Since her birth in 2007, my husband has only sent Ava about a dozen times for special occasions or weddings. He technically still has custody of her, but not at all primary, only on paper. Meeting. When I was 20 and he was 30, he was still in the middle of divorce papers and was wrecked from having to pay alimony along with child support and not being able to get any closure on his marriage or access to his daughter. We became good friends and hung out often until about a year into the friendship, we decided to move in together. I needed a roommate and he needed a roommate because he could no longer support himself living alone. We fell for each other gradually until we were in love. And after his finances were straightened out, he proposed to me and we were married last year, as I said before. Now, long story short, Ava's rent-a-womb broke it off with yet another man. Word of mouth is, she met another man online who lives an entire state away and wanted to go live with him. She left Ava with her parents, Ava's maternal grandparents, who live in our city. But the maternal grandparents are old. They're old, weak, and though they like having their granddaughter around, they can't raise her. They can't help with homework or help her get ready for school. They don't drive, so one day Ava literally just showed up at our doorstep and we've had to readjust our whole lives for her. I've never had so much hatred for a 7-year-old in my life. I feel like shit. Ava is the rudest little girl I've ever seen. She has no manners and no consideration for anyone. She talks back to her father and gives him attitude. She only smiles and acts loving when she wants something, like new toys or clothes she wants. When she found out she was going to get a younger sibling, I let her rub my belly. Instead, she smacked me. She smacked my belly at random times when I walk past her, and it makes me livid and drives me to tears. I tell her that it's unacceptable to hit anyone, especially her sibling, but she screams that I'm not her mum and I can't tell her what to do. Who's heard of that one before? I told my husband about her behavior and how she acts when he's not around. Deliberately makes messes that I have to clean. Draws on my paintings and books with markers. Won't eat my home-cooked food but demands pizza and ice cream. And instead of scolding and disciplining her, he placates her and gets her what she wants. His idea of scolding is, "Don't do that again, okay?" It's like he's gone from being a dependable family man to a flaccid doormat of a father. I want to send her back to her sack of shit mother. Maybe she'd be better off in foster care, but at this point, I don't care anymore. Is there any way I can deal with this in a practical way? I can't even keep my head straight. I don't like feeling toxic when I'm about to be a mother. I've tried so hard to be a mother figure to this girl the best I can be, but this girl is beastly to me. I'm always walking by her with my hands around my belly in case she strikes me again. If this is how it's going to be, I don't want her to affect my unborn baby. She's already having a profound negative effect on my husband. I hate her stupid white trash mother for ripping her away from my husband, denying him access and then dumping her on her parents, and then onto us, once she wanted some new out-of-state cock to ride. I know this girl is the consequence of her environment. It has to be, but I don't know what we can do at this point. I've never worked with behavioral children, and I've never dreamed that I'd be a wicked stepmother figure in the midst of being barefoot and pregnant. My question is, how the hell can I sort this family out without going absolutely mental? I feel like a prisoner in my own home and didn't sign up for this sort of dysfunctional nonsense. This is affecting my sanity, my marriage, and my family. Any input or solutions are welcome. Please help. Now, I'm going to be stating the obvious here, and probably like a lot of the comments will say on this one, that clearly that child needs some professional help. I'm not excusing the behavior or anything like that, but she's clearly been through a shit ton of stuff. She seems to have been passed around like she's unwanted time and time again. But when I feel like it says that little girl desperately needs therapy, I know she's awful, but she's been raised poorly and she's been abandoned. She's fucking pissed. You guys can be the stable, loving home she needs to grow up normal. Listen, I'm a stepmom. My mum is a total sack of shit. The kids were like wild animals when I came on the scene 2 years ago. Tantruming, destroying shit, not listening, serious emotional disturbance. With therapy, love, diligence, and total dedication, their dad, who has sole custody for 2 years until recently, and I turned those kids into functional human beings. It's made me cry and want to give up at times, but I reminded myself that they needed me. They have a great dad, and he had no idea how to parent at first. He was just escaping from a physical and emotionally abusive woman who tried to keep them safe. He would have anxiety attacks when they threw tantrums. He would let them eat whatever they wanted and do whatever they wanted. I came in, made rules and bedtimes, taught him that it's okay to be strict, that you must choose your battles but win every single one you choose. They went from eating pizza and mac and cheese every night to eating whatever healthy meal we put in front of them. They went from tantrums and freakouts to deep breathing and apologizing. It takes time, dedication, and a lot of patience. But you've got to get him on the same page. You've got to be willing to wait to hear her out until she breaks and realizes you are the boss. And you've got to be firm and loving at all times. She needs to feel safe with you. She's a 7-year-old little girl. That's my stepson's age. And he still very much needs me to hold him when he's feeling insecure and anxious. Make him feel safe. And he needs to know that Daddy and I are the two people he can trust no matter what, to never, ever let him down. That little girl needs to know that you and your husband will never let her down, and her behavior will improve when she does. She's scared and angry and abandoned, and nobody has ever taught her how to be a person. You can do that. It's one of the absolute things that I love about Reddit is that, there's people from all different experiences, walks of life, and I just found that comment pretty powerful in itself. But OP came in with a update and says, since I started walking around with my hands casually on my belly when around Ava, she hasn't been hitting me as much as she used to. This morning over breakfast in front of both my husband and me, Ava told me that, I hope your baby dies. My husband has been asking her what she thinks we should name the baby. We came up with ways to try and include her in the pregnancy, and she said nothing. After my husband and I both took turns asking her, come on, you can think of a boy name and a girl name. She told me, I hope your baby dies. I didn't say anything and let my husband discipline her. But as always, his idea of discipline is to say simply, you're a big girl, you shouldn't say those things. I asked him into the next room and asked that he be more firm with her, as she'd been physically punching me in the belly. Now it's looking like she'll be saying she hopes the baby dies. Thanks for all your responses. I've read through each one of them, and though I couldn't reply to your comments, I really appreciated the input. One poster actually mentioned that I might be jealous of Ava's existence because it's a reminder that I'm going through a first marriage and my first pregnancy with someone who's done it all before. And you know what? I'll admit, that does bother me a bit. Having Ava be so behavioral and difficult, as she isn't really helping my feelings either. Though I will say, not many commenters in my original post said much about what to do about Ava hitting me on my 5-month pregnant belly. But I can say that I've never talked badly about Biomum in front of her. If I seem hostile towards her, it's probably because she acts so beastly to me no matter what I do for her. Cook for her, pack her lunches, pick her up from camp, and even resorts to hitting me. That I cannot look past. Sorry if that makes me immature and selfish, but I don't want to surround myself with that kind of negativity, even if it comes from a 7-year-old. I'm going to ask my husband, he's speaking to Ava right now, that I'll be going to live with my parents for a while, or if not, my sister. I want to finish the rest of my pregnancy in peace and without stress, and the best thing for me right now is to protect the baby in my own belly. Ava is also behavioral towards her father, so I'll say that this time can be used for Ava and husband to bond. It would temporarily move me out of sight and maybe allow husband some one-on-one time with Ava. Maybe by the time I'm back in the family home with our new addition, she'll cool off for a bit and we can start therapy, as many of you suggested. Thanks for your input, Reddit. I appreciate every thought. And OP comes in with what was titled their final update and says, since my last update, we put Ava into therapy and began attending marital counseling. Ava is going to therapy twice a week, and my husband and I are attending once a week. I'm glad that we managed to get everything out during our very first session, as we have the remainder of the sessions to work towards resolving the marriage as well. A lot of my anger has gone away since I moved out. I'm writing this from my parents' home and I feel safe and relaxed. I've been taking some maternity yoga classes for my own peace and I think I quite like it. Husband and I talk or text almost every day over the phone, and we plan to meet up or have me come by once or twice a week to our family home to do family activities as the therapist suggested. I know many of you suggested that I stay in the family home, but the peace that I feel now with Peanut, we nicknamed the little one, I wouldn't trade this experience away. I finally feel like I can indulge and experience my pregnancy to its fullest. Ava and I did have one last violent fallout before I moved out. I put my hands on Ava when she came in for another swing. This was right after the talk that my husband had with her about absolutely no hitting, so I quickly grabbed her wrist. No hitting, no spanking, just grabbed her wrist to restrain her. I told her that I would not tolerate being hit, reminded her of the no hitting rule, and asked her that she please stop. She retaliated by swinging her leg up to kick me in the stomach. Think Gerard Butler's "This is Sparta" kick scene. My God, the willpower it took for me not to slap her across the face was burning, but I managed to walk away. In tears, but still, managed to tell her what big trouble she was going to be in for hitting again, and came straight back with her dad in tow, who gave her a big stern lecture about it. This happened a day after the first child therapy session, so my husband and I were pretty relieved that we'd got the ball rolling on that therapy, and he supports me 100% in my decision to move out until the end of my pregnancy. His issues are that he has no idea what to do with Ava, and is afraid that she will hate him if he is too hard on her. Remember that he was basically cut out of her life for almost her entire childhood, until her bio mum abandoned her. It was here that I told him that I was unhappy that he appeared to be bending over backwards for Ava while neglecting Peanut. I raised the issue of hard discipline and drawing rules, and the counsellor will help us out in drawing up fair house rules. Some of them include no hitting and no name calling. Eat whatever is put on your plate. Dessert will only be after your meal is finished. Help out with household chores, small things, in exchange for a small allowance. My husband and I both agreed that we would treat Ava fairly and discipline the same way, and that the same rules for Ava would also apply to our own child. I know we won't be applying similar rules to the baby in its toddlerhood, but we feel it's a good guide and it can show Ava the nature of house rules and that life requires some order and discipline, things that she's probably not used to having around. But we're starting that now. We haven't heard from Rent-A-Womb for weeks now. Not even a single phone call to see how Ava is doing with the transition. We both agreed that she's no longer welcome to intrude in our life. We will get some sort of ball rolling to claim for full custody now that she's proven herself to be an utterly incompetent human being. So, here I am, resting with my peanuts and surrounded by my parents, sister, full of positive vibes. My husband and I are in marriage counseling and Ava is in therapy. We plan to take some parenting courses at the local community center and we'll be bringing Ava with us. Maybe being around other little girls and boys expecting siblings will be there, and maybe some of their enthusiasm and attitudes will rub off on her. We'll be encouraging her to make some friends. Perhaps some playdates are in order. Edits. I read all the PMs and the responses and I'll do my best to read and respond to every one of them. A few things seem to be popping up over and over again, so I'm going to do my best to unify my stance. One, I originally came on this board, see the original post, to seek help on how I should deal with the Ava situation. Many commenters suggested therapy and I should work together with my husband. It gave me a chance to reflect on how I was thinking and I was able to process my state and emotions. This update is for those who asked for an update, and for those who wanted to see how our family dealt with it in conclusion. I got the help and advice I needed, and chose to take the one that most resonated with me. 2. I'm moving out until the end of my pregnancy with my husband's support and blessing. Make me feel bad or selfish all you want. As I said in my last post, I'm not sorry for the decision I made. I don't care about whether I'm letting Ava win. We've got to set ground rules and therapy for her, and now it's time to take care of me. You don't win anything against a 7-year-old child. When you have a 7-year-old violently punching and kicking your pregnant belly, then come and talk to me. I don't care if women in some countries have to lower and squat in a minefield to give birth to premature triplets. That's not the hand I was dealt, and I wish to have a stress-free pregnancy. 3. I know I've had feelings of I want to slap the shit out of Ava, but I will not be putting my hands on her. Yes, I was beat as a child, punitively and only within reason, but I will never be beating or hitting her. 4. Rent-A-Womb seems pretty apt for a woman who gave birth to, and then proceeded to drag said child on a wagon tour around to fuck multiple men while keeping her away from her bio dad and abandoning her once it got inconvenient. I used Rent-A-Womb since I've heard about and met this woman. She deserves no title of parent or mother. It's a nickname I call my husband's ex. Why can we call uninvolved dads sperm donors but not its female counterpart? Seems apt. 5. A lot of you have PM'd me thanking me for my decision to move out. We also grew up in a blended family where you were abused by your step-siblings and your bio-parent was too afraid to discipline you and overlooked the abuse in lieu of hopes that it was just a rivalry phase that would go away. I knew there were other people who have gone through similar situations, and thank you for coming out of the woodwork. I appreciated those encouragements. Remember that blended families have very different dynamics than traditional families, and there's no real set-in-stone guideline. Best of luck to everyone in similar shoes. Opie also added one more comment of additional info that said, when I married my husband, his ex and I had 100% custody and was 3 hours away. She dumped Ava onto her grandparents when she wanted to live with a new man a state away, and we were given a few days warning from when she was at her grandparents to our home. So believe me when I say that while I knew he had an estranged child, I knew about it, but didn't know we'd be dealing with raising her. We're doing the best we can. And as I mentioned in the start of this post, that this one was some time ago, and there was never a further update on it. After this one, there was a lot of comments talking about the age gap, talking about how OP talks about the husband's ex and the child in the situation as well. And of course, many other people saying missing reasons on this one. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.